morning, good afternoon, and whatever time zone it is. What time is it there for you, Vikram? Oh, you're muted. We lost your sound there.
Can you hear me now? Hi.
Yes, yes, I can.
Where I am, it's 11:30, Dan.
11:30 in the evening, though.
Yes. Yes.
You're
One more.
literally almost burning the midnight oil. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Vikram, for another Workshop Wednesday, because it's almost not Wednesday for you, right? Or is it Tuesday? What day is it there? Where you?
It is Wednesday. It's almost.
It is
not
still Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You may notice that Carrie's not here yet. She actually had her computer die right before she was logging in, so she's got some technical issues to work through. So hopefully she'll be joining us, coming in on two wheels. But we are wrapping up our discussion here with Vikram from File, talking about expense management fundamentals. So what topic are you going to talk about today?
So I think, Dan, we spoke about a few things, over the last two sessions. One was around, the need. What exactly is expense management? What's the need for management? We also saw why sort of.
You weren't ready for sharing it.
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Reason there's a lag. I'm not sure what's happening there, but
yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. All right. Right. So I think from what we were discussing last week, we were looking at what to look for in an expense management solution. Also, right? When is the right time to look for a solution like this? We discussed about organization scaling. When this process becomes very difficult to manage from internal teams, and when should an organization start looking at this? Also, what are some of the elements of a good expense management solution or a system? So that includes, it should be super easy to use for both employees and finance teams. Ideally, it should not disrupt your existing processes and existing relationships with banks and financial institutions, because nobody likes disruption, and being card agnostic is definitely is a big advantage in terms of not needing to switch cards for the employees not having to learn a new system to go with, as well as retaining a lot of the rewards and the relationships that you maintain with the banks and the credit card companies as well, right? And what this most people tend to switch to move into an expense management solution because there is a clear need for better software, better workflows, better automation, right? And what that means is real-time data access and data around spend controls, and those are some of the things that people can greatly benefit from. And the element around automated credit card reconciliation, the need for a two-way sync with an accounting software, automated controls and compliance with finance, and of course, good support and implementation timelines, right? So these are some of the elements that we discussed would be good to have in an expense management solution that anybody's looking to go for. So today we will switch gears and do a little deep dive on why are the current bank feeds so broken and what exactly is the issue there, right? And we will also go beyond that, and I will show you how some of the benefits that I've been talking about over the last two webinars. I will probably show a few of those elements in action so that we're able to appreciate what that really means in a real world scenario, right?
Mhm.
So, do you want to add anything, Dan? Any
No,
comments, any thoughts?
one of the thoughts that came to mind, right, is basically, what you're suggesting, with a potential implementation of your solution is you don't even need to rely on the bank fee at all. And one of the things that we get a lot, as far as I've seen as a question, for my time, add into it, also, since I've been on our own and in school of bookkeeping itself, is this concept of bank balance versus QuickBooks balance, which is, the bank balance is what the bank says you have, and QuickBooks balance is what the sum of all the transactions in the register says, and they rarely ever agree, right? Like it's going to be a challenge, and that's your third bullet point there, of a delay of at least 2 to 3 days to see your transaction data reflected in your bank account, right? Because as soon as you swipe or charge a card at Home Depot or wherever it is, that now becomes a pending transaction, which takes away from the available balance of what the bank says that you have. But
Right.
that doesn't come into QuickBooks until it goes from a pending transaction to a posted transaction. So, you know, added
Yep.
benefit here is that you never have this question from your client when you're using something like that, is why is there a discrepancy between what the bank says I have and what QuickBooks says I have? That was my client
Yep.
impression there of the of the needy client, what
Right.
they sound like through the through text or filter, whatever it is, right? But and that's what ultimately will happen, is that you don't have that question because there is no connection. I mean, when you're connecting file, you don't connect them at all to the bank feed. Is that what uh, how that works?
So, yeah, so the way it works is I'll talk a little more about how it works, but yeah, there is no dependency on the bank feed going into QBO anymore, because we have the ability to bring in every transaction as it happens in real time into file, and the
Hmm.
reconcile transaction is what can be pushed into QuickBooks. So the chances of the delay and mismatch, and also there's a lot of um, you know reconciliation related sort of effort that goes in, and all of that can be completely avoided as well, right?
Yeah,
And
and one of the things that we talked about earlier, before you came on, like with the bank feed,
Mhm.
where you have a parent sub account situation.
Right.
Also, you're going to have those bank balances totally off.
Yep.
Because of the main account is the account that all the payments come out of, and then the sub accounts are all the ones that the transactions come out of. So there is that discrepancy. So an added benefit as well is you won't have those questions
Yep.
either.
Right. No, absolutely. And we did this. We did a thorough investigation of why this problem actually occurs, right? Before trying to solve it, and the
Mhm.
problem has been there's always been a very high dependency on the banks to provide these feeds, and not all the banks and the card programs actually provide this. And mostly it's available only on the larger corporate cards, which are more reliable, right? So, but then most small businesses don't have access to the larger corporate card accounts, or the larger account programs where the banks have the ability to push that data into the software of their choice. So that's problem number one. The second problem is there are a lot of solutions, including QuickBooks and a few others, where some banks have the ability to push the transaction data, but even that is not in real time. And we've heard from a lot of clients that it's always broken. The reason why it is broken is they typically go through aggregators. And if they go through aggregators, any change made on the banking website can sort of disrupt that workflow completely. And in order to fix that, it takes sometimes days or weeks in order to get that going again. And through that process, accountants and bookkeepers are facing the brunt from the customers simply because there is a mismatch there from a customer standpoint or a client standpoint, and the bookkeepers and the accountants have no way to sort of correlate what exactly is happening out there till that problem has been resolved. And that delay in reconciliation typically means that you're not able to close books on time. You're not able to you spend a disproportionate amount of time trying to just chase employees for the receipts and spend data, because that's the only way to ensure they're able to capture all the details before the bank feeds or the transactions are coming in, right? So, and then if you were to think about it from an employee's standpoint, it's a big problem for them as well, because imagine you get yourself a coffee, or you spend on a client meeting, you spend your on the 5th of a specific month, and towards 20th of that month is when you're asked about what did you spend that for. So you have no clue. In 15 days you completely lose the context, and perhaps the receipt as well. So it's very difficult to sort of decipher what that was spent on. And that is required from an audit perspective. It is also required from an accounting perspective to ensure we're able to code those expenses or code those that spend to the right account as well, right? So so all of these are some challenges from the current process of bank feeds and how it is being managed, right? Again, if anybody has any questions around this, I'm happy to take them. Please leave them on chat, and we'll definitely address that.
Yeah, it looks like we're having some challenges chat coming in here. I have the YouTube up there so that we can kind of relay those messages. But looks like Carrie's not the only one with with a technical issue these days. So yeah, if you we are kind of monitoring the chat directly on the YouTube and Facebook channels. Normally they flow into where we're streaming from. So we'll do our best to answer any question that might come in there.
Got it. So just to sort of get into how exactly do real-time feeds work, right? So the way we've solved it is we've completely bypassed the banks and the financial institutions. We've gone directly and partnered with the networks, the payment networks. Visa and
I
MasterCard.
love that as a solution, right? Is don't join in with the fray. Just find another way.
And it took us
I'm
more
a
than
poet.
a year to build that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. And today, we are in a very unique position because there's no other solution which can offer this. MasterCard and Visa, American Express is going live in about a quarter or so. So regardless of which card you're using, issued from which bank, any bank, we are able to bring in those transaction feeds in real time into file and automatically reconcile that, have it available on a dashboard, send a text message, asking the employees to submit a receipt instantly, and also matching that automatically for on behalf of the employee, on behalf of the finance team, and perhaps even somebody who needs to review this from a manager or a super or any other supervisor standpoint.
Yeah, because I mean, I always think back, Vikram, of the day we met, right, at Scaling New Heights. We were just waiting, happened to be standing next to each other at waiting for coffee, and you introduced yourself, and the only reason I knew you is because or knew of you was at the time I was a top 100 pro advisor, and File was nice enough to send a really cool gift that was totally personalized, right? Like it was you talked to a chat bot, and it asked you a few questions of what you personally liked, and you got a nice little gift that was custom tailored to the things that you liked. And so that had an impression. So when you said who you were with, there was immediately that connection there. But then you started talking about what File does, and it really struck me that you have an app, but you ultimately don't want people to use it. I mean, that's a unique thing, is that they're using things that they already know and adopt, right? Because somebody who swipes a card, the image there of they swipe a card, they get a text message instantaneously, not in their app, so it doesn't mean that they have to go into an app to take a picture of the receipt, or anything like that. And it's such a novel concept with regards to this process, and it allows for easier adoption, on the customer side of things, or the user side of things. Is like, hey, we're using this expense management software, but all you got to do is snap a photo on your in a text. So it's like super easy to use. It doesn't mean that they have to be set up as a user or anything like that. All that implementation and that stuff takes place ahead of time, but once it's connected, then it's just super easy for people to use. And just through our conversations, it just really struck me that you built all this technology so that people don't use it, which was really an idea, really a weird idea, but it's the magic behind the curtain, so to speak, of what you've crafted there at File.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what you mentioned is almost an oxymoron there, in terms of we built the app so people don't use the app. So exactly true. Yeah, I mean, I think we truly believe, and we actually measure how many users or end users actually use our app, to be honest. I mean, we have our mobile app, we have our web application as well, but we want employees to use everyday applications, like text messaging is one of the things that you mentioned, but we also do have plugins available for Gmail, for Outlook, for Slack, for Microsoft Teams. So regardless of which application employees are using, it's just a matter of clicking a couple of buttons, like a Facebook like button. In fact, let me just show you how this works in Gmail, for example. Right?
Yeah, this blew me away.
So if let's say you get an email. I mean, there can be either text, receipts in the form of paper receipts or digital receipts. And if there are digital receipts that land in your mailbox, which is quite common these days, it can be from any vendor. All you got to do to submit this expense is just click this button over here. I mean, think about it as a Facebook like button, right? So if I were to search for an Uber receipt there, and once I open this mail, I just need to click on this button, and File will in real time extract information from the receipt and automatically code it in real time for you. not only that, if you've used a credit card or a card to make a purchase, make this or spend this amount, we will also automatically match that to the transaction. So over here, as you can see, the amount, the currency, date of transaction, merchant name, category is automatically chosen because we use machine learning to extract information from the receipt and apply that immediately there. And
there's Carrie.
hi, Carrie.
Hello.
We were just going through.
Carrie, he was just showing the Gmail plugin for File. So
Oh, good.
You may want to back up for Carrie's benefit how this works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, so Carrie, I was just showing how easy it is for somebody to submit an expense from within everyday applications, right? So we have the ability to submit it via text messaging, Gmail, Outlook, Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Drive, OneDrive. So the idea is we don't want employees to use the app. We want them to use everyday applications that they're familiar and comfortable using. So the learning curve is completely gone away, right? So in order to submit like a digital receipt which lands in your mailbox, all you got to do is just click this button and think about it as a Facebook like button, and we extract all the information and populate it immediately right there.
So when you click that button, it actually scraped the transaction. So if you X out of this and click it again, it's going to do that again. Is that what happens?
Correct. So, well, if you've already submitted it, the next time you open the email, we recognize that it's already been submitted. So we will show the status of where exactly that expense is. Let me show you how that works, right? I mean, but the other thing that I also want to point out is, on one end, we are extracting this information. On the other, we are also connected to the accounting software, in this case, QBO. So we're able to bring in details such as the project details, cost center, class. If there's an existing report, that information, all of these details are already brought in from QBO. So you don't need to code that at all.
Right? Now, I'm thinking of this in terms of, an employee. Would they, would they know all this, right? Like, as far as like the account that, that they would be tracking these things too, or is it just a suggestion here and then it can be modified later? Or, because they may not be intimately familiar with your, with the business's chart of accounts, but they know, okay, this was for meals, or in this case, this was for, transportation. Is there like I don't know what the word would be to describe it, but would there be more of an employee facing chart of accounts that they would be able to utilize, as opposed to, okay, this goes to 6032 category, which is a sub account of meals and entertainment?
Great point there, Dan. In fact, we have a one-to-one mapping of the chart of accounts, which employees can understand, to what the accountants deal with. What that means is we have friendly names available. That mapping is available within File. So which means employees will always see what's friendly to them. Accountants will always see what they're used to, and what from an accounting standards perspective. So and in terms of pre-filling some of these, we offered the option of pre-filling, but then you do have an option to make changes as well. So if the employee is working on a separate account or a separate project or a different project, he or she can make the choice over here. So that option exists, but it's already pre-filled based on certain parameters that can be set up in the background. And when I submit this, instantly this information goes into File, and you can view that in the app right there. And to your question, Dan, the button is changed now. So the next time I try and submit the same thing, it automatically shows me the status.
Nice.
It will not allow you to submit that again.
Submit it twice, so you avoid duplicates once it's been
Absolutely.
submitted.
And we also do have the ability to track duplicates. So let's say you submit an expense once, and then Carrie tries to use the same receipt again within the same organization. We tag that as a duplicate. So we are able to differentiate if the same receipt is being used multiple times, and then tag that. So this is how it's visible within the application. So as you can see, all the details, including the receipt information, is here.
So you have these plugins for all the things that employees are already using, their email, their Slack communications, or those anything that they're already using. So the point is that this is just kind of like an overlay over something that they're already familiar with. So have you found that that employee adoption rates are different, are higher for using File?
Absolutely. There's a jump of about 60%, 60 to 62%, because there is no training required. There is no learning curve involved. People are already used to using sort of the application. So to that extent, it's very simple and almost second nature for them to start using this as well. Right.
Great.
And while we're on the topic of simplicity, right, I also want to quickly show you how the app works, and show you how digital, paper receipts, are extracted as well. So if you were to just, look at my phone here, all I need to do in order to submit a paper receipt is, take a photograph of the receipt right there, just like that. And we are very unique in the sense that we are able to extract this information in real time and also apply any policies and violations in real time. So as you can see,
I've seen that with other solutions, QuickBooks itself, right? You got to submit that and then wait, wait for it to be processed. And then, our squirrel brains move on to something else. And then we forget about it, right?
Right. No, so I think the good part about real time there is you can choose, or you can go through all the details that has been picked up. I mean, if you notice here, right, it's picked up everything, including project details. It's picked it up as food as the category just by looking at the receipt, a paper receipt, merchant, cost center, report, and the best part is you can go on adding more fields to this, depending on how you want to account for it. All right, and it's just super simple, and go ahead and save that. Right, and to the other sort of example that I was sharing with you, let's say if I were to have, let me just look for that receipt there. So if I were to walk into, let's say, Starbucks, and I swipe my card, and as soon as I swipe my card, I get a text message like this: you have a new expense of US dollars, 13.20 cents at Starbucks. Please reply with a photo of your receipt, and we'll try and match it immediately. Right? You're still waiting in the queue, and you take a photograph.
And I see your thumb is over top of some of that, so that you literally took it on the fly.
Correct.
How did that work out when your thumb's over top of something?
Yeah, well, it picks it up. It automatically matches, as long as there are 3 parameters which we are able to extract: the date of spend, merchant name, and the amount. We automatically match that.
And if it doesn't, right? Like, does it say, "Hey, try again," or how does that work?
So the way it works is we nudge the user that only two of the fields have been extracted. You may want to add the third field. So it's almost like an assisted match. But most often, if these three fields are legible, then we do an automated match, and the reconciliation. The matching and the coding happens instantly.
Right. Because here we have, I'm thinking, and I'm just, as you're talking, I'm thinking of these things. But because you swipe the card and the card has some data already on it that's being fed through to file, because it says it looks like you bought something at Starbucks. Take a picture of it. Is that?
Yep.
I mean, is that part of the matching process because it's feeding in some of that information, and then if the photo that you take is against that, is that what it's matching against?
Exactly. So the date,
Brilliant.
Yes, and it happens immediately. Right. And and this is not only sort of beneficial for the user, but if you were to think about it from an administrator standpoint, somebody who's managing the account, imagine they have real-time visibility of transaction data from across their organization, and because we support the notion of budgets and projects and locations, and cost centers as well. So we are able to account for this information almost in real time, right? And each of those transactions, as they make it, is visible to, let's say, a controller, or let's say an accountant who's sort of being the administrator of the account. So across all of the cards. And it also gets assigned to individual cards, and the matching happens instantly as well.
And then, as far as where this goes into the accounting software or whatever you're connected to, is there a stopgap or something, an approval to get it in there, or is it just immediately it flows into the account that you've got it mapped to inside of QuickBooks?
So there are two options available. So number one, all the expenses which are submitted will be auto submitted for approval. It all depends on the workflow that you set up, right? So let's say there are
the answer to both questions is yes.
Yes. Yeah, both questions is yes. We can customize how we want to sort of set it up depending on the use case.
Got it. Yeah. And so I mean, think just trying to recap here. Rewrap my head around it. You don't need to change cards. Use the cards that you already have. You don't need to add an app, although you can if you want to. Just you do whatever you're doing already, and snapping a photo, using a technology that the employees are already familiar with, so it increases the adoption rate of using that, and then you see it in real time, and you don't have issues with bank feeds or rules, getting in the way of adding these transactions in 2 days later after they actually show up.
Absolutely, and you said it. And what I'm showing you here is the level of customization which is available in terms of how this integrates into QBO, right? There's a whole lot of customization and integration functionality which we've built in, which is probably the best in the industry out there, right? So it's really sort of meant to address a lot of different use cases out there, right? So that's what I wanted to quickly show in terms of how what we've been talking about is actually available in a solution, and we can sort of make that available to anybody who uses it, and companies or accounting firms who use software like this for their clients. And
so then in general, talking a little bit about pricing, we don't necessarily want to obviously they can go to your website and see, what this costs, but what's the mindset that you have as far as your pricing strategy? Is it a flat, monthly fee, or is it a per user fee? What is the typical mindset that File has as far as its pricing strategy?
Right. So from a pricing standpoint, if you were to go onto our website, it's available out there. But I think so. We do have active user-based pricing. So it mainly is based on people who are submitting at least one expense report in a month or have added one card to their account, right? So that's the definition of active user. And then, as you know, I mean, we have an exclusive sort of engagement with the Complete Business group. So in terms of getting more information and pricing details, probably Dan and Carrie would be the best people to sort of reach out to get the best deals out there.
Yeah, so if you don't like what you see on their website, reach out to us here at School of Bookkeeping. We'll definitely put you on a better path, because because we get from our discussions with Vikram over at File. We the power there's a power in community. Just like going to Costco, right? As opposed to buying four rolls of toilet paper, you can get the never leave the bathroom for a month option. But of course, it's less, to do that per roll. But if you see some value in that, definitely reach out to us here, and we can put you in touch with Vikram through our arrangement with CBG. Carrie,
Yep.
now that you're here,
hello. This is a really fantastic app. I love that it's they've approached and fixed a lot of that we thought we got included in QuickBooks that aren't quite what would seem. So I feel like they've hit all the really hot spots.
And I think that's kind of like the strategy of QuickBooks in general, right? I mean, they're really shallow. I mean, they're not shallow, but they're the features and functionality is really kiddie pool, right? It just kind of barely touches the surface of really what you want to be able to do, and then they kind of realize that that's their limitation, and that's where companies like File can really shine. Is like, okay, if you need all that stuff, you definitely want to partner or use an application that you get the most out of. And I think Vikram, what you have here, what you've created here is pretty phenomenal. About it checks all the boxes of what you said there. It's almost like you set yourself up there. It's like, here's what you're looking for, me.
And it doesn't, right. Yeah. And I like that you don't have to get all these benefits, bells and whistles, and then, in the fine print, you have to use my credit card. So it just works the way it's supposed to with, because customers come to us and we can't go, we've got this wonderful solution, but you got to abandon everything you've been using for years and building credit up with. It's not an easy thing to say. So we appreciate that you've worked around and made that work.
Awesome.
Right. Absolutely.
Vikram, thank you for joining us on this series of expense management fundamentals. We certainly did kind of creep into something that's not fundamental, right? It's when you have multiple credit cards, and it gets very very challenging. And we certainly appreciate you sharing your solution with us, because the more that people understand these things, I think the easier things can become with regards to ease of adoption and the real-time bank feed problems that we end up having with regards to managing our client data inside of QuickBooks.
Absolutely, Dan. It's been a pleasure. And just one thing that I want to sort of highlight is most accountants and accounting firms that I speak with, and in my role, I speak to quite a few of them. Almost admit that we've been accustomed to status quo, and we did not really know that there is another way to deal with this.
Yeah.
We're glad that we're able to sort of help address some of those challenges. And but yeah, and this has been a beautiful experience. Thanks, both of you, for having me over.
All right. And so next week on the workshop, as we're going to be joined by accounting pro Ana Calderon, who has a really awesome process about getting paid for diagnosing your prospective client's data file before you even get into the nitty gritty, and then and then a week later, a week later, you have other issues that you didn't even know about. So Anna will be joining us here to talk about that process. So hopefully you can join us next week on the workshop Wednesday. And again, Vikram, thanks for joining us. And Carrie, better late than never.
That's right. Technology crisis. Oh well.
That's the challenge of doing something live. Is if your battery's dead, the battery's dead.
Yes, and it doesn't go any faster no matter how much you yell at it. So I've learned that.
It's like a cat, right?
Yes, very much. Laptop batteries are like a cat. We'll put them in that category. Yeah. Very finicky.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week on the workshop Wednesday, and hope everybody has a great day.
Have a great week, too. Thank you.